Welcome to the Genealogy Gems podcast. It's a show filled with family history research strategies and techniques, news and entertainment, and inspiration. And I'm your host, Louise Cooke. Hello, my friend, and welcome to Genealogy Gems podcast episode number 234. I am recording in October of 2019, but that doesn't really matter because with podcasting, it's kind of universal. It's evergreen, right? You can listen whenever it works out for your schedule. And something else that's kind of universal, I think, is the need to downsize. We work so hard to gather up everything that we are finding and that we have, and then we start to realize that you can't keep everything and you can't take it with you. So we're going to need to do a little bit of planning, and whether you are in a position of needing to downsize somebody else's home, maybe a parent's or a sibling's, or your own, I think this episode is really going to help because there's lots of different theories on how to do this, but Devon Noel Lee has just written a book on the subject. So I've invited her to the podcast today because I get this question so often. And I love getting new ideas from people on how to approach this because it is not an easy task. So we take on the hard tasks here. We're going to do that today in episode 234. I've been busy around here. Last month, I was in Orlando, Florida, where I spoke at the Central Florida Genealogical Society. Great group out there. I have spoken at conferences out there before, and we had a wonderful time. And in about 2 days, Bill and I are flying out to Salt Lake City because I've been working so hard on trying to kind of last minute pull together genealogy roots. I've mentioned it to you here on the podcast in the last episode, I believe it was. Lots of different changes happening at the Senior Expo, and they were bought out by a big company in Utah. And so it just put a big delay on getting genealogy roots put together. But we were able to finalize things in August, and so it just gave us a couple of months, but we're going to have a great time. And I am really looking forward to seeing those of you who will be joining us there at the Genealogy Roots event. I don't really call it a conference because it's not really a conference. It's a kind of a training education type event. And Jeff Rasmussen is going to be joining me, and he is wonderful. I can't wait to work with him. We have been wanting to do this for years. And so I'm really excited that it's going to happen. And I'm really hoping, I've got my portable recorders. I'm hoping I'm going to bring some great audio to you in the coming months out of Genealogy Roots. So really looking forward to that. And then right on that, we're going to get home, turn around, pack the car. We're driving to Nebraska, and we are going to be participating in the last event of the year on my calendar anyway, and that's the Czechoslovakian Conference that's happening out there. I'm expecting some good food, folks. Let me tell you. I have already been reading the menus. I can see that they're going to be eating well out in Lincoln, Nebraska. But I'm really excited to be one of their featured speakers. So we're going to be kind of taking what I do and applying it to Czechoslovakian type of research. And so there's a huge number of people who descend from Czechoslovakia throughout the Midwest and really down here and even Texas. We have a group in Texas. So I'm sure I'll be recognizing some folks up at the big national conference. And I am not the only person who's busy around here. Just in the world of genealogy, I think things have kind of picked up a little bit. Sometimes we don't expect to see things until Roots Tech happens in February, but this is October. This is Family History Month, and so maybe it's not a surprise that there are some exciting new things launching and happening. So let's talk a little bit about what's new. Well, one of the things about being a podcaster and having a very large genealogy YouTube channel is that I get a lot of emails from TV producers. And that's because genealogy is continuing to be a very hot topic. And they're out there looking for stories. They're looking for, kind of exciting new takes on all this. And of course, the role of genetic genealogy is really coming to the forefront, obviously, with all of the application of genealogy to criminal cold cases. Wow, it's hotter than ever. So they're looking for some, exciting stories and continuing to bring genealogy to the TV audience on the heels of the success of many of the past shows like Who Do You Think You Are? Well, this fall, 2019, we're seeing several new TV shows pop up. And Ancestry just announced one of these. It's called A New Leaf, a new television series by Ancestry to debut on NBC this fall. And you, of course, probably remember that NBC here in the U.S. is the channel that has been broadcasting Who Do You Think You Are? Although it switched to another channel for a while. But what they're doing now over at NBC in conjunction with Ancestry is, well, I'll read here from the press release. It says, each week, A New Leaf will follow people on the cusp of key life inflection points who, using family history, genealogy, and sometimes ancestry DNA analysis, will go on a journey of self-discovery and learn from the past while looking to the future. In partnership with Ancestry, Fuentes, I believe is the host, will join families as they learn the importance of appreciating and understanding their family history and ancestors in order to make important life decisions. So this kind of sounds like the format that so many genealogists were hoping for, because in the past, shows like Who Do You Think You Are? They were always focused on celebrities. And this one is working with everyday folks, people who are not celebrities, who have some kind of a journey to go on or a question at hand. So it should be really fun. It's going to be, I believe, I don't have it here in front of me, but I think this is on Saturday mornings. But we'll have a link in the show notes that will get you over to the press release so you get all the details. So that's one of the new shows that's launching this fall. Now, Henry Louis Gates Jr., he is getting into his 6th season. Can you believe 6 seasons of Finding Your Roots? And that's on PBS. And they're going to have 2 new episodes this fall and 8 more in January of 2020. So the new people that they are going to be featuring are comedian Melissa McCarthy, who's hysterical, Jordan Peele. I don't know who Jordan Peele is. I should look this up, huh? Isabella Rossellini, Gayle King, Terry Gross, Queen Latifah, and many more. So you'll need to check your television schedule and with your local cable provider to figure out when PBS is airing Finding Your Roots in your area. Now, I just got a Google alert on this. There is another new show coming out. It's called The DNA of Murder with Paul Holes. You might remember the name Paul Holes because he was one of the investigators on the Golden State Killer case out in California. And of course, that was the case that took genealogy and blended it with DNA and helped solve the case. And it's opened up a whole new world of forensic work and genealogy and DNA and how that all plays together to solve mysteries. Well, that's what this show is about. Again, it's called The DNA of Murder with Paul Holes. It premieres October 12th at 8 p.m. on the Oxygen channel, which I think is Oprah Winfrey's channel. So that's on cable. So while this show isn't exactly genealogy, we know that they are using genealogical databases in conjunction with the DNA work that they do in these criminal cold cases to try to solve them. So again, it's called The DNA of Murder with Paul Holes, and you can find it at oxygen.com/DNA-of-murder. But of course, I will have that in the show notes for you. So there's lots of new TV shows popping up, but that's not the only thing popping up lately. There are also new services popping up that are really working to try to meet the needs of family historians. And I think it's interesting, after 12 years of doing this podcast, I've really seen the evolution just in the last 12 years, particularly what technology has done with genealogy. And of course, that also changes the products, right, that we need, that we think we need, that are being created for genealogists. And one of them is coming out of Legacy Tree Genealogists. They have a new consulting service. They're kind of calling it a genealogist on demand, if you will. It's virtual consultations, and the service offers access to family history experts anytime, anywhere. So these are virtual consultations that you can do with one of their professional genealogists. And that means you can kind of get help anytime, anywhere where you are, virtually on the computer. So it says here, they announced on September 19th 2019, this new service a 45-minute virtual one-on-one consultation with a professional genealogist. And in their press release, they say that at only $100 USD, these consultations provide users with a cost-effective resource to have their research questions answered in real time by a professional genealogist from the comfort of their own home. Users have the option to schedule either a DNA consultation with a genetic genealogist who can explain their DNA test results, or a genealogy consultation with access to one of their worldwide researchers with expertise in regions around the globe, including England, Ireland, Scotland, and Australia. Tailored to your specific research questions, the one-on-one consultations are conducted utilizing screen sharing technology that allows the user to share documents, records, or DNA results with the genealogist in a secure virtual environment. This is kind of a neat deal if you need help. I mean, can you imagine you're at the Family History Library and you're working on something and you only have so many days there and you get stuck? Wouldn't it be amazing to be able to jump on the computer and have a one-on-one consultation to kind of get you over the hump so that you can continue to make the most of that research trip? Or, even just from home. I mean, I just think that's a really cool idea. So now you've read some of the articles from some of these professionals on our own Genealogy Gems blog. They're really smart folks who kind of know what they're doing with genealogy. And in fact, we just had an article published on land records by Jay Drummond over there, who's terrific. So, they have wonderful resources. They're really kind of set up to do this. So if you want to learn more about it, if you want to try out a one-on-one consultation, you can go to legacytree.com/genealogygems. They've made a special landing page. It's just for you, Genealogy Gems listeners, legacytree.com/genealogygems. And of course, if you decide you want to do a consultation and you do it through that link, then you're doing something else that's really nice, which is you're helping to support this free podcast. And Larson Digital, also a friend of this podcast. In the past, I've told you about the incredible work that Larson Digital did for me, getting some of my old home movies digitized, which I am still so glad that I did that. Well, they've launched a new service where you can send them your old negatives, and they will digitize your negatives into beautiful, high-resolution digital images that you can use. I mean, we're talking 4,000 DPI. So, a lot of times you'll end up with just the negatives. I know in my case I did. I ended up with a couple of boxes, actually, of negatives from my grandmother, my dad's mom. And the interesting thing was she had been through a divorce and stuff, so not all the family photo albums made it to me, but I did end up with these envelopes of old negatives. Gosh, going all the way back to probably the 30s or the 40s. I had lots from the 60s and 70s. So, I've been looking at these over the years wondering, what are these pictures? And some of them you can kind of hold up to the light and kind of see, but I really don't have the time and the tools to try to digitize these myself. So I just think this is a really cool service because we all have old negatives in our drawers and in our closets. So they have two services they do. They do the Value and the Pro. So it gives you a chance to pick between how you want to get your negatives digitized. The Pro, they'll apply all the really high-end restoration and noise reduction and that kind of thing. But the Value makes it really affordable to be able to get a whole bunch of negatives done, particularly if you kind of just want to see what they are before you start investing in restoration. You can always do additional restoration yourself with a free app like Adobe Fix, which I talk a lot about in my mobile genealogy book and in some of my presentations. I love that app. So if you have color negatives and you know that they are going to need some restoration because negatives do deteriorate over time. And I thought that was interesting as I was talking to Kristen over at Larson Digital, that negatives actually do deteriorate, which I didn't realize. I know photos do, obviously, but negatives do as well. So they can do the fix while they're digitizing them, which is kind of neat. So that's what the Pro option does for you. So when I heard about this new service, I tried it out myself. I wanted to see how it turned out. And I'm so excited about some of the photos I got back. I got photographs of my great-grandmother and my grandparents and my dad when he was a kid, countless relatives, houses, the interiors of houses I hadn't seen before back in Oklahoma. It was really cool. I'm so excited that they have this new service, and I was happy to try it out for myself, and I was really pleased with the quality of it. I love that pictures are big enough. I was just looking at a project I did the other day. It was a video project, and I realized a couple of the pictures, they were still kind of fuzzy, and there's nothing worse than being knee-deep in trying to put together a presentation or a video or something that you want to share with people, and you realize your pictures are too fuzzy. So none of that when they digitize them for you. So I was really pleased with that. So they have also set up a special page for you. It's Larsen, Larsen. All my husband's Larsens are O-N, but this is Larsen, E-N, digital.com/Lisa. And on that page, you'll see the special discounts they have for you. It doesn't matter whether you have color, black and white, whatever types of negatives you have. They've got all kinds of different services, and she's providing some really nice deep discounts on several of them and a general discount on the rest of it. So the coupon code is GEM, as in genealogy gems, GENGEM like Mary. And that is also on the landing page. So you can see and use that code and make sure you get the great discounts they have there. So check out the show notes. Again, this is episode number 234. You can see the negatives that I started with and the pictures, the wonderful images that they created for me on the show notes. So you can kind of get a feel for what that looks like. And it's kind of amazing to think that I have sat on these negatives for so long. I've been sending the pictures that I got back to my dad, and he's been emailing me back, with the names and the dates and the stories behind the photos, which is another reason I'm so glad I got this done because, he's still around to help me with that. And he's been enjoying it. That's the thing. A lot of our relatives aren't so interested in family history, but seeing these old photos again, particularly the ones that we haven't seen prints of. I mean, I'd never seen them. I don't know that he had, but he's really enjoyed seeing the old photos again and helping me out with them. So there's a lot of good that can come out of finally getting some of these things done. I like seeing those kinds of services that help us do that. And one of the other things that has come out that's new this fall is Find My Past. Now, they've been a little bit behind the game in terms of getting online trees, part of their service. Well, they have the trees. Now they're finally doing hinting from tree to tree. And, this is something that the other genealogy giants offer, Ancestry and MyHeritage and Family Search. Find My Past has been working on it. They are finally getting that going with the hinting tree to tree. Right now, they're letting people experience that for free. I think eventually it's going to be part of the paid service. Really nice to see that happening. So that is something that we reported on the Genealogy Gems blog, and you can read more about it there. We'll have, again, the link to that article to get all the details on hinting at Find My Past in the show notes. Well, that's the latest genealogy news, and coming up next, we're going to talk downsizing. As I travel the world talking about genealogy, folks are always stopping me and asking for my advice on organizing and securing their family history research. And my standard answer is plant your family tree in your own backyard and share branches online. Planting your tree in your own backyard, it means keeping one master family tree in a software file right there on your own computer. That gives you ownership, control of privacy and security, and one central place to organize everything that you learn about your family. And of course, my software of choice and the one that I use is Roots Magic. I find that its tree building tools are second to none. And with Roots Magic Web Hints, you can see what record hints are available on Family Search, Find My Past, and MyHeritage. And now you have the ability to synchronize your Roots Magic database with your Ancestry tree and get those Ancestry.com web hints right there inside of Roots Magic. These are features that are really critical and they're exclusive to Roots Magic. So plant your tree today in Roots Magic and watch it grow. Get started at rootsmagic.com. Well, I don't think any of us have ever escaped the challenge of downsizing, or at least we've thought about it. We may have faced the need to downsize with aging parents, maybe for ourselves. Maybe our husband just says, you gotta get some of this stuff out of the closet. I need some space. All this genealogy is taking over the house. For whatever reason downsizing has gotten on your radar, I've got somebody here to help you out with it. It is the author of Downsizing with Family History in Mind, Devon Noel Lee, and you may recognize that name from the Family History Fanatics on YouTube. She's written this book together with her husband, Andrew Lee, and she is here to help guide us through the prospects of downsizing. Hi, Devon.
Hey, Lisa. How are you?
I am doing great, and I think this is always a timely topic, don't you think?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Short answer, yes.
Devon, you say in the beginning of this book that you have faced downsizing several times so far in your life. So is that what prompted you to write the book?
Yes and no. So I think I've experienced almost every type of downsizing besides divorce. So downsizing my own self, downsizing to move, downsizing to smaller places, downsizing inherited genealogy. Sometimes we don't think about that, but absorbing that into our structure. So I've experienced it. I've done a lot of things wrong. And I've also held the hands of so many people who have gone through the process as well. And all of that experience has helped me go, how do we overcome the lack of information on how do we downsize the sentimental items, the family history? Because that is the hardest part of downsizing, is how do we say goodbye to things that have so much sentimental value? So I wanted to give people tools and action plans and strategies to get over that hump.
It's so painful almost to think about letting go of some of your family history stuff, but eventually that can happen. And I know I was thinking over the weekend, it's so easy to wake up on a Saturday morning and you say, oh, I think I'm going to do some decluttering. It's about time. But you were saying in this book that decluttering doesn't work. So why is that?
Well, there's three things that we do and experts teach us that are absolutely wrong. The first thing is we don't give ourselves enough time for nostalgia. Like you said, you're revisiting these memories and they are hard to process and you can get overwhelmed really, really quickly. So when you downsized, let's say you're going to do it on a Saturday morning, you pick up your grandma's sweater and then you spend an hour reflecting on her, especially if she's passed away, smelling that sweater, and then you just lost your whole morning. So you don't give yourself enough time for nostalgia. That's number one. Number two, we're really bad, especially as genealogists, we're really bad at evaluating what's going to last for the long term. I mean, it has value to us, but will it really matter to our children and our grandchildren and so forth? And the third thing is we use the wrong boxes. What I mean by that is almost every decluttering expert out there, every decluttering show I watched when my children were little, they give you the box to keep, the sell, and the donate. But that's completely wrong. Of course, you want the keep box. These are things that are going to fit the space that you're going to live in or absorb home if you're downsizing other stuff and bringing it into your home. The next box it needs to do is combine that sell and donate into a giveaway box. They're really just one box because you're going to give things new homes. Believe it or not, you can preserve by giving things to other people that are going to take care of your things. And then the next box is trash. I know, I just said it bad. But as genealogists and as memory keepers, we keep a lot of stuff that really have outlived its usefulness. And so we need to put it in the trash or the recycling bin if that's an option. And then the fourth box, this is the box that gets us all stuck, the process box. So there's some things that are gold. You are not going to get rid of it. Your family is not going to get rid of. But there's other things you're like, oh, I can't get rid of it. It's going to be useful someday. Or it just means so much to me. But if you will process it, and what I mean is digitize those things, then you will be surprised what you can give to someone else's home who's going to take better care of it. And then you still have the memory. And then there's also our binders. I hate to say this, not everybody wants your binder. They want the facts. So you got to process that information, and then you can give the binders away and you keep the facts. So those are the 4 boxes that we will start using those combined with how do you evaluate for the long term and have enough time. We will be a whole lot more successful. And you can't do that on a Saturday morning.
Exactly. It takes a real game plan. And, you were talking about giving away, and it doesn't always have to be our own family members, right? We can also donate to an archive or a library or a historical society. So you kind of touch on that as well in the book, don't you?
Absolutely. And there's so many things to give away. Sometimes giving away is giving yourself permission to use the family china. I don't mean to break people's heart, but most people don't want your family china. My mother-in-law tried to sell her wedding china, and she couldn't find a buyer to save her life. So I told her, why don't you start using your china? It was meant to be used. Use it.
And if you drop something and it breaks, okay, but you got to use it.
Because you've just made memories with that china. Yeah. Letting your children play with things. My costumes from when I was in dance, letting my children play with those costumes. Other things of, have anybody tried to donate to a university's special collection? Mm-hmm. So my great-grandfather was a professor at Ohio State University. And when I contacted them to see, do you have anything about my grandpa? He worked here for 40 years. She said, well, I have a little bit, but I wish families would think of donating to us. So I'm like, university special collections. But as you said, libraries, archives, museums, ethnic groups, memorial projects, you just have to get creative. And there's also collectors out there who collect some of your objects rather than your papers and your documents.
And they'll love them too. Gosh, I totally relate when you talk about the china. I think I now have like 4 sets. I have both grandmothers. I have my husband's mothers. I have my, and of course, nowadays, the kids, they don't even do fine china types of sit-down dinners. So they're like, I don't think we're interested. And and it's just kind of understanding the times, if you will, and what people's interests are going to be and getting them to places where they at least will be appreciated. And I really like what you're talking about too, which is making memories and loving on and connecting with our family today and not just hyper-focused on the ones who passed. Now, you say that there is a better way to downsize. You've been kind of touching on that. Certainly a better set of boxes that we could be using. And you've listed 4 basic principles in the book. So walk through those with us real quick. What are the 4 basic principles?
So the 4 principles are reduce, preserve, reclaim, and showcase. And believe it or not, showcase is the one people forget the most. So reduce, that's going to use those boxes and the evaluation strategies I have in my book, Downsizing with Family History in Mind. And you're going to put things in those boxes, and then you're going to get rid of the trash. You're going to give away the giveaway, and then you're left with 2 boxes. Then you go to the principle of preserve. So this is when you're going to digitize the things you're going to keep, so people don't have to do that later. And you're also going to digitize the things in your process box. And this is going to be scanning, photographing, converting old slides, negatives, movies, audios, and things like that. But photographing the objects around your home. And also transferring your genealogy work into genealogy software and online trees. So that's your preserve. Then you get to reclaim. So reclaim is when you take everything out of your process box. You've already processed it. A very few number of those things will go into your keep box again, but the rest will either be given away again or in the trash. And now you're just left with your keep box, and you've just reclaimed the space in your home. But you're going to rapidly come into a problem if you don't organize what's left. I know the other bad word, the organize and trash. So in reclaim, you're going to reclaim your space. You're going to organize everything that you're going to keep. And the goal is no offsite storage. And archivists are going to like this. no attic storage, no garage storage, no shed storage, no barn storage, all the storage that make archivists cringe. We're not going to have that anymore. And then the last one is showcase. People are not going to love the treasures that you have if you don't put them on a display. Many of these items have been in boxes for decades, and they deserve a night out, don't you think?
I couldn't agree more. Yeah.
Absolutely. And the final part of showcase is transforming what you have into something that's easier to pass on, such as videos, such as maybe a family podcast, or books, be it a scrapbook or something that's more text-based, but it has to be story-based family histories, not so much charts. You've got to get the stories in there, because the people who don't like family history, they love family stories. And then that's where you have finally completed this whole principle. It sounds like a lot, but if you don't do it, here's the really scary part. It's probably going to be what my brothers-in-law said. They're going to just grab everything, put it in a pile, strike a match, and they've got a bonfire.
Yeah.
And so that's the hard truth we have to get to, is if we don't do it, nobody else will.
Right. It puts us back in control of, what ends up happening with it, and that the right people are getting it. I love that. And I'm a real fan of the whole showcase idea. I was so thrilled to see you talk about that in the book, because I'm a big advocate of, if somebody walks in your house, they should be able to tell at least a little bit that you're a genealogist. And so if we haven't taken a moment to get something on the wall, to get a display put together, then how would we expect anybody in our family, or as our kids are growing up, to appreciate it, to say, oh, I see that's something we value in our family. And so there we're kind of grooming people to be the next keepers. So I really, really appreciate what you're saying there. I imagine that many downsizing projects are much more than just a single day. It's not just to sit down and do it once. So when you're faced with a really big downsizing job, where do you recommend that people start, and where should they really put their primary focus, particularly if they're not so sure they are actually going to have the time to finish this?
Right. Absolutely. Well, time is one of the things that I think we fail at a lot. And so let me address the time, and then I'll address the starting part. In my book, I have action plans for people who have just an hour to downsize. I know that sounds shocking, but it happened to me when I downsized my mother after she passed away. I had an hour in her apartment and I had to grab.
Exactly.
And then I have action plans for people who have a weekend, people who have 3 to 6 months, and people who have 6 to 12 months. When you have a longer timeline, you can do so much more. But when you have a short timeline, you've got to capture what has the most genealogical significance. But one of the commonalities of all of them is you need to stop, take a breath, and capture what is right now. So let's say you have your house. You would photograph the outside. Then you would go through the rooms and the inside and photograph those things. And then you would try to zoom in on some of the collections, because after you begin downsizing, the stuff is never going to be together again. And so you want to preserve the home that it was in. And you can do the same thing if you inherit genealogy. Lay everything out, take a photo of it, and then you can start downsizing. Because I would give anything to be able to walk through my mom's house, the house she had after my dad passed away and she downsized her first time. I didn't live in that house, so I don't remember that house. But I do remember the things she had. And then again to her apartment. I only saw her apartment once, and that was the weekend after she passed away, and I had an hour to pull stuff out. So that was my big mistake. I didn't just take a moment, photograph what was there, and then grab the things I needed to grab to preserve our family history. So that's where I would start. Get your timeline, and then capture with a photograph or even a video. What was it before we started this mess?
I love that idea. Oh gosh. In fact, I sat down the other day and I closed my eyes and I was visually walking through my grandma's house, and I was trying to write up a visual description because I didn't have the pictures like you said, but how wonderful to capture it all, particularly before you're going to do a downsizing. And I would think, as I'm hearing you talk about this, that even if somebody isn't faced right now with a downsizing project on their lap, it's worth reading this because we can really implement so much of what you're talking about really on a daily basis. I used to work for a gal years and years ago in corporate America who would say, don't touch that paper more than once. You pick that paper up and you touch it, then it's almost like you have to know what your boxes are and you've got to take an action and you decide what's going to happen to it. And I think we could be really employing these ideas on a regular basis so that when downsizing happens, we're not up against a huge project, maybe just a semi-big project, right?
Absolutely. And what you'll notice in that my preserving step, all of the things that you're doing, getting everything digitized, that's what a genealogist should be doing, because then you can use it in other projects, be it a video or a blog post or a family reunion t-shirts, whatever. You should be doing these things anyway. So yes, the more you just implement some of these strategies right now, then it's so much easier if you have to downsize yourself or a loved one and you just have more time. The more time you have, the more of the ideals you can achieve.
Yes.
Because if we talk about downsizing photos, there is some strategies out there people say, but if you have an hour, you're never going to implement that strategy. You just don't have the time.
Exactly. And you're leading right into where I wanted to take you next, which is photos, because many of us have piles and piles. And oftentimes we actually have 3 different shots of the same thing, or we've inherited photos that came from somebody else's album that, my grandmother was notorious for making duplicates and, spewing them out there. So do you ever toss them? And what kinds of choices are we making when we're looking at photos? Because I know I will not be able to keep everything I have right now.
I have a friend who had 17 storage bins. These are like the Christmas ornament size.
Oh, gosh.
Like all of the decoration size bins. They're huge. Like you could maybe fit 2 of them in the back of my van. They're so big. And she has 17 of them.
Wow.
And so, yes, you can throw out photos. So for those of you who are driving, pull over. For those of you who are not driving, sit down and take a breath. Yes, you can throw out photos. And the first step is to throw out those duplicates. We do it today. We take 15 photos of one group, hoping that everybody will have their eyes open. We have pictures of the baby's first steps, and we have 20 pictures, but 2 of them really melt your heart.
Yeah.
Get rid of the other 18, and on and on and on. Double prints, back in the day when we did double prints.
Oh, yes.
Get rid of the double print. Keep the best one and get rid of the rest. And then school pictures, portraits, Sears portraits. We want to get 1,000 copies, and we really only needed 800, but they made us, okay, that's really extreme, but you get the idea. They make you buy this big package and you only needed half of it, but then you have all these duplicates floating around. Just save the 5x7, save the 8x10, and the other rest of it goes away. And notice I'm saying go away. I'm not saying track down other poor sucker in your family and give it all to them. Go throw it away. The next ones, if you've never downsized your photo collection, get rid of blurry photos. Now, again, somebody's going to have to breathe because they're going to say, I only have one picture of Uncle Earl and it's blurry. Okay, if you keep that one picture, you're fine, but your other pictures need to go away. Overexposed pictures, underexposed pictures you go, what the heck is this? And nobody knows what that, you've done your Google. You've done a Google where you drop in the picture and put it into Google to see what it is, and Google doesn't know what it is. Get rid of those pictures, and you will be surprised just how fast that collection is going to decrease if you follow those steps. But then I have the topic. If we have time, what do we do with unlabeled photos?
Oh, yes, please do, because I'm guessing there's just a couple people out there with a few unlabeled photos.
I don't know a single person who has a photo collection without unlabeled photos.
Exactly.
So again, I'm going to give you tough love. I'm going to give you the tough love, and then I'm going to give you strategies. The tough love is you're going to have people who have situations like myself, where I had an hour to clear out my mom's home. I lived multiple states away. I did not have any more money after paying for her funeral to transport unlabeled photos back home. I just couldn't. And as a genealogist, I put it in the trash and I cried a whole box of Kleenex. But I had to be done. I couldn't justify that expense and go into debt for unlabeled photos. You never should have to go into debt for unlabeled photos. You also have family members. If you have a bunch of unlabeled photos, you know what's going to happen? They're going to throw out the unlabeled photos and the labeled photos. And that's what we don't want. So here's what you do. First, stop climbing your tree and identify these people. contact your relatives, your cousins, put it on Facebook groups, do whatever you can, try to label that photo. If you can't, and you have the time and the resources, then you can turn to Dead Fred and Orphan Ancestors and see what you can achieve there. But again, you have to have time and resources. If you don't, and you have a short window, that's not an option for you, sad to say. And then another option you can try is there's a lot of archives and genealogy societies that collect orphan photos. If you have the time and the resources to track those down, then you can donate to them. And then you've done your good due diligence. But if you don't have enough time, you don't have enough resources, then be like me, take a deep breath, throw them away, and then go grab a box of Kleenex, because sadly, they've lost their value and you just can't, you should never have to go into debt to try to save something that somebody else, because really, it was your ancestors' fault. Let's put the blame on that. You shouldn't have to feel guilty. You did the very best you can. And so I hope people don't send us all hate mail, but that's just the fact of the matter. You have to have the time, money, and resources, or don't leave unlabeled photos for your descendants, because it's going in the trash. So do something about it now. And I guess that's my whole push for unlabeled photos. Do something about it now.
Make it a priority. Absolutely. And finally, I think this is something I'd love to touch on, because I think it touches so many genealogists' life, which is, and I hear from people all the time who listen to this show that they say, I'm working so hard and I don't have any children, or nobody in my family is interested, or the kids have told me they're going to dump this. What kind of encouragement or suggestions do you give your readers about when you really are faced with, there isn't anybody that directly descends from you or that you're involved with in your family that's going to want what you have worked so hard for? What do you suggest?
Oh, this is great. Because if you think you don't have somebody interested in your life, you're wrong. I am still fascinated by my mom's great aunt. So that's my great great aunt, I guess you would say. And she didn't have any children. And I would give anything to have more stories about her. All I know is she worked at the Red Cross in the 1940s. How cool is that? So you do have relatives who are interested. They just might not be interested now. So number one, downsize and organize. You downsize and organize, you're going to increase the chances that if you do have offspring, that they're going to want it someday. So for those who have nobody interested or no posterity, then what you need to do is a couple of things. Start looking for your third cousins, your fourth cousins, the ones that you're finding on Ancestry and Family Search and MyHeritage. Look for people actively working on a particular surname. Now, I have to stress surname. They're not going to want your whole collection. They'll just want parts of your collection. And ask them, hey, if I send this to you and pay the bill, I know that's really what you have to do. If I send this to you and pay the bill, would you want that? Many people will say yes. So then if you strike out there, then you're going to start looking for libraries, archives, genealogical societies, museums. I have a whole list of places in the book. You're going to contact them. What would you want? But here's the thing. They want it organized.
Yeah, they do.
But if you downsized my process, it'll be organized, right? So get it all organized and then start gifting it to them while you're alive. It's easier for things to be passed on while you are living than hope somebody does it later after you've passed away. And then the third thing is, because you've preserved everything in the preserve step, it's digitized. Get it online. Get it onto family trees. Get it on a website that you pay for 20 years. It will be around, hopefully. Get it into maybe a digital collection. Maybe you can contact different, I don't know what the possibilities are, but here's just a thought. Maybe you can talk to the Texas portal and say, hey, I have these high quality images. Would you like to add them to your collection? So you got to get creative, think out of the box, but you want to get stuff online into the hands of other people so that your genealogy can live on after you passed away. But you want to try to do most of that before you pass away, because again, it's easier to pass stuff off when you're living than after you've passed.
Right. You've got more control over it. Makes sense. And really the key, I think, that you're talking about in all of that is that getting your stuff in good condition makes it more desirable, right? And that our collection, while assembled, applies to us, broken up, it may have far more value to many other different organizations and people. And I think that will also help us make it a little easier to let it go. Gosh, we could talk all day about this, but hopefully everybody will just read the book because it really will guide you. And Devon wasn't kidding when she said that she's got a lot of great action plans. I love lists. There are lists in here. There's real to-do items. So it's not just theoretical. It's really hands-on. It's called Downsizing with Family History in Mind, and it's by Devon Noel Lee and Andrew Lee. And Devon, it's been such a pleasure having you here on the show, and I hope that we will talk to you again soon. And of course, we will always see you over at Family History Fanatics on YouTube. We will have links to all in the show notes for this episode. I know we cross paths quite often on the road, so I'll look forward to seeing you then. Thanks, Devon. Our sponsor for this episode is MyHeritage. They have over 70 million members worldwide. Now, if you're serious about making connections in the country where your ancestors once lived, hands down, MyHeritage is the place that you want to be. I uploaded my family tree hoping for a breakthrough in my German family line, and that breakthrough happened really quickly. I received a message from a distant cousin in Germany, and that was my first international cousin contact. And MyHeritage has a unique and powerful search system. It's called Record Matches. Now, this constantly culls over 8 billion historical records for your family. It's also the only family history interface out there using semantic analysis to search newspaper articles, books, and other free text documents. So find out what MyHeritage can do to help you grow your family tree. Visit myheritage.com. It's free to get started, so there's really no reason to wait, and there are billions of reasons to try it out. Visit myheritage.com.
Profile America, Saturday, October 5th. The national census to be taken April 1 next year will be the 24th time this once-a-decade count has been conducted since 1790. The fifth census in 1830 profiled a quickly expanding nation, counting nearly 13 million residents, an increase of more than one-third in just 10 years. New York remained the largest city, while second and third places were a near tie between Baltimore and Philadelphia. Also among the 10 biggest cities were Charleston, South Carolina, and Albany, New York. In the decade to follow, Cyrus McCormick invented the grain reaper, opening huge sections of the Great Plains to agriculture, and Texas declared its independence from Mexico. You can find more facts about America from the U.S. Census Bureau online at census.gov.
Well, that brings us to the end of another episode. We're already there. It's episode number 234 of the Genealogy Gems podcast. And you will find the complete show notes for this episode with everything that we talked about at genealogygems.com/podcasts. And then you just scroll down and click on the link for 234. And of course, if you're listening through the Genealogy Gems podcast app, which is available in the Apple App Store, it's a one-time fee of $2.99, mostly because they wouldn't let us put it in there for free. I don't know why, but that was the deal. So it's available in the Apple Store. It's a one-time fee. Otherwise, this show is absolutely free. But over in the Google Play Store, if you're on Android, the Genealogy Gems podcast app is absolutely free. So if you're using the app, you just scroll down on the episode screen that you're listening to, and you've got all the show notes right there. Okay? So except for the photos. So if you want to see the photos, like if you want to see the negatives and the after pictures that were digitized I was talking about, or anything like that, then you have to go to the website. So we haven't figured out how to get photos to show up in the app. I guess there's only so much they can do. But over at genealogygems.com, you can see that in the show notes. And of course, you can like the Facebook group, the Genealogy Gems Podcast Facebook group. We post lots of fun stuff over there. And I am personally active over at Instagram. So just go into the free Instagram app and search on Genealogy Gems Podcast, and I will pop right up. You'll see lots of stuff, kind of what I'm doing behind the scenes here at the show, as well as just everyday life here at the Cooke Ranch and anything else that's going on with Genealogy Gems. You'll see it on Instagram. And of course, over at YouTube, we have lots of free videos. So if you go to YouTube, just do a quick search on Genealogy Gems and click the red subscribe button on our channel, and you'll get our videos there. And don't miss our latest articles. We've had several important articles over at the Genealogy Gems blog recently. Now, one of them was Busting Genealogical Brick Walls with a Podcast, which was really cool. It was a listener who wrote in and told kind of the story of all the different things she had learned through the Genealogy Gems podcast, and she'd been applying it like a case study to this one genealogical research project, and it's really neat. I was just thrilled to read it, and I think you'll pick up lots of neat tips on things that you can be doing in your own research. And also, we have that article I mentioned on how to find and use land records for genealogy. Don't miss that one. It's a really nice introduction. A lot of folks are shy about using land records. It's just like, it's a really big area. I don't know where to start. It's different in every jurisdiction and location. Well, this article is really going to help give you a nice, strong foundation for finally digging in and getting into land records, because, oh my word, is there a lot of genealogical information in land records? Definitely. And if you enjoyed this podcast, well, you just got a great sampling of what it's like to be a Genealogy Gems Premium member. We have our exclusive Genealogy Gems Premium podcast that is part of the membership. And we are up to about episode 175. They are completely ad-free. They are in-depth and totally unique to what we're doing here on the free show, but I think you're going to love them. And I have really been excited about some of our most recent episodes. 174 was on descendancy research, and we dug deep into that, almost the whole episode devoted to descendancy research, not going back in time to your ancestors, but actually coming forward in time and finding descendants. And wow, is that an effective tool if you are trying to bust a brick wall? Michael Strauss is an expert in this. He's a forensic genealogist professionally, as well as our military minutes man. And he goes really deep into that subject, and I think you're going to love it. And the most recent episode is premium episode 175, which I spent almost exclusively on ancestry hints. Who knew there was so much to know about getting the most out of ancestry hints? So we dedicated that episode to that subject, and premium members with that episode get a downloadable cheat sheet. It's a one-page cheat sheet that compares all four of the genealogy giants: Ancestry, Family Search, MyHeritage, and Find My Past, specifically on the topic of hints. And I think that you'll find that very useful indeed. So look for that. If you're a premium member, make sure that you check in on those most recent episodes. Of course, the entire archive is available to you. And if you're not a member, you might want to think about it. We're doing some really neat topics in addition to all of the videos that you get, all the video classes with all the handouts. So lots going on with premium membership. Of course, the easiest way to make sure that you don't miss a thing is to subscribe to the free Genealogy Gems newsletter. If you haven't already, you head over to genealogygems.com and click the newsletter button there to get the free newsletter. And if you wouldn't mind, I've asked you before, but I'd love it if you would take just a moment in the show notes and click the Genealogy Gems survey. This is something that our hosting company asks us to do. It kind of helps us stay in their good graces, and it gives us a really good, continuing good sense of who our audience is. That helps them as well. So literally, this will take you less than 60 seconds. So if you could do that for me, that would be awesome. If you have any questions or comments on the show or something that you want to ask me about, whatever, send me an email. Okay, genealogygemspodcast@gmail.com, or you can leave a voicemail on the voicemail line, and we might just play it here on the show. It's 925-272-4021. Thank you so much for listening, friend. I'll talk to you soon.